was a fine church, but I needed some extra effort.
Sure you did.
So in coming to Moody, I got that. And
Now, you're here with Annetta this morning. You've been married how many years?
we've been married 28 years.
Oh, why do you look at her for a confirmation? I mean, aren't you...
Well, we have just
know.
passed our anniversary.
Okay.
I wasn't sure the 27 or 28.
I know. But did you meet her here at the Institute?
No, I met my wife back in my home church. Actually, I was a soda jerk across the street in a drugstore, and she began to attend the same church I was attending, and we met over a soda fountain.
You know what? I can hear young people say, now, what kind of a jerk is that? You know, we talk about soda jerks, but there aren't any of those animals
No,
anymore,
I don't think so. Hardly any soda fountains.
I know. Well, you met there. She never, just because you left for Chicago, didn't change her sights any at all, did it?
No, she was a year behind me in school, and so I came here. She finished her senior year, and then while I completed my course at Moody, she went on to a small Bible institute in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Where have you pastored before?
I've really spent most of my life in the state of Maine. I felt while I was here at Moody that God wanted me to return to my own home state because more pastors were leaving the state than coming.
Oh.
And I felt I owed my state something because of what they had done for me. I felt that very deeply.
Wow.
And so I was committed to take a small country church in Maine someplace, and it began in the little town of Dexter, Maine, where now world-famous Dexter shoes are made.
Oh, yes.
And then after serving 6 years there, I was called to the southern part of the state for new church work in a suburb of the city of Portland. It's a little town called Cumberland Center, and I was there 12 years.
Well, we're going to visit more with Pastor Ted Harmon a little after 8 o'clock. He has a wonderful staff, 5 committed people in the Claim Street Baptist Church, leading that church in an inner city commitment, and some interesting things are happening there. And we'll be sharing more in that. Incidentally, 4 of those people on his staff are Moody grads. So I tell you, this dear old school has influence in a lot of places. And you want to remember to pray for Moody Bible Institute every day. You know, when something is as blessed of God as this place in all its many ramifications, you know it's a target of the devil in many ways that most of us would never hear. Through the years, I've found out that the more significant place you have in the work of the Lord, the more of demonic problems focus on you. Satan seems to want to shoot at those high on the pole. Pray for those in places of leadership. Oh, they need it. They need it so much. That's a special part you can have. And here it is, almost news time. Well, the weather. It's been rather drizzly, cloudy this morning, but that's to clear away to just cloudy as the morning progresses. And then tomorrow, clear up. We are going to have a beautiful day tomorrow with a lot of sunshine and warmer. Today it's only get up to about a mid-60s for a high, but tomorrow we'll be up around the 70 mark, and that is normal for this time of the year, 70 degrees. It's October 4th, your time in 5 seconds, exactly 7:45. You're listening to WMBI or WMBI FM in Chicago.
At 8 o'clock, you're listening to WMBI, WMBI FM Chicago. Back with Morning Clock right after this.
All right, thank you very much, Andrea. That's Andrea Fabry at our controls this morning and helping with some announcing spots and kind of keeping the whole thing tied together behind the scenes. I'm Bob Murfin back here as your host for these next few moments. We'll be hearing a little word about an ambassador program to the Vatican and a little bit about what that would mean. And we'll be visiting with Ted Harmon, who is pastor of Claim Street Baptist Church. I just noticed in the news this morning, in the lighter side or the human interest side of the news, a British doctor says boredom can kill retired people. Alan Brahman Carter, who's the author of, quote, The Art of the Aging, says those enjoying their jobs and reasonable health should try to keep involved and even keep with the job as long as possible. He should report that says when retirement comes, the greater the boredom, the sooner the death is likely to occur because of the lack of companionship and a feeling that you no longer need it. Dr. Carter warned that food and drink can be now there's a new word for me, horrific Horrific. Food and drink can be a horrific effort on bored people. Just don't care to eat. Can't imagine what that would be like. Anyway, he warns you may be bored out of your mind without realizing it. Well, there's all kinds of folk, aren't there? We'll have a little music, and then I want to hear from a man who's certainly not bored. He's very much involved. I speak of Bob Dugan of the National Association of Evangelicals. He's going to discuss another bill up before our legislators about an ambassador to the Vatican. All right, it's 8 minutes now after 8 o'clock, and I've been looking forward to a little further visit with Ted Harmon, who is the pastor of the Claim Street Baptist Church in Aurora, Illinois. Earlier this morning, we just got into his personal life a little bit, but let's get in now involved with the church. We like to learn about some of the programs and ideas and share them because others listening can profit from these. Claim Street Baptist, not exactly a fly-by-night program. You've been there how long now, the church?
93 years on the same block.
93 years.
We have our 100th anniversary in 1990.
I try to think of what kind of change has taken place in those 93 years.
It began in a railroad shack. That's how it all began anyway, a little Sunday school.
Well.
And then it's gone through several building programs since then, of course.
But more than the buildings and more than the just staying, the programming and the ways of relating to people, that's the important thing. Now, you're involved here. You have a pastoral staff of 5. What are some of their specific leadership roles?
Well, my assistant, Dean McIsaac, who is a graduate of the Institute, as my assistant, does pastoral work as I do. He has general oversight, however, of our discipleship and evangelism program and is plugged into our junior high youth ministry. While he was a student at Moody, he attended our church as a lay person.
Yes.
And while there, he wanted to be involved, and so we asked him, do something with our junior high kids.
Yeah.
And he did such a fantastic job that when we hired him, we couldn't take him away from that because the kids loved him and he loved them.
Yeah.
And so now our junior high youth ministry is just mushrooming.
Fantastic.
We're very grateful for
and
that.
Recently, you brought in a young man to help give leadership to the high school and the post.
Yes, our former youth pastor went into the pastorate a year ago, so we were searching for a young man, and again, Moody Bible Institute provided a young man in Mark Watkins, who came as a very wonderful answer to prayer to us just a few weeks ago.
And the other 2 involved with you?
Are our musicians. Larry Shackley is our minister of music, and WMBI listeners will know Larry's name.
Yes.
And Dave McAllister as well as our church organist, and he too is a very vital part of our church family.
Excellent. Now, just last Sunday, I believe, you began broadcasting your morning worship hour, right?
Yes, quite an honor to be asked to broadcast our morning worship services for 3 months. So we're just beginning and delighted to be able to share what we have with people.
How are you personally fitting in the straitjacket?
I'm not accustomed to that.
Just from one pastor to the other. What do you got, 22 minutes?
Just about 22 minutes in order to use the time that's allotted to us. And so you have to learn to squeeze some things in.
That's right. You know, it may ruin the congregation, too, because they're going to expect that to continue from then on.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, sure. Well, you've got a good, happy reaching ministry. You're even involved with some senior citizen ministry, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Really, they are members of our church, plus some that are just remotely connected with our church. In our church, it's called a home department. But we have about 12 to 15 lay people who visit them every week with tapes of the services, with foodstuffs, with errands, taking them to the doctor, just being a friend to them. Every single week, these people go and visit them, and it's a vital link between ourselves and elderly shut-in members.
And what an encouragement for those shut-in people.
It certainly is. It's a real ministry and a big help to me.
Any particular ethnic emphasis out that way?
Oh, yes. We have, we're in the midst of a neighborhood that probably is at least 25% Hispanic, and so we're doing our best to reach our neighborhood and Hispanics as best we can. And the Lord's done some wonderful things for us very recently.
Well, great. And you've been there now 7 years.
I'm beginning my seventh year. Completed
well, that's long enough to see some things beginning to gel and some plans and dreams and so on. How do you feel about the pastorate in general? You're not a novice in this area. You've been in the East in the pastorate, now here in this area. And so let's look back, say, 20 years. How do you feel about the pastorate today as compared to 20 years ago? Can you be more involved? Is it a more personal thing? Or what's some reactions you'd have?
Well, I think I'm happy to be a pastor, and always have been. I look upon the pastorate as a real means to be a servant to other people.
Yes.
And sometimes that servitude is challenging, to be sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, servitude is a rich blessing in teaching, preaching, visiting, counseling, helping people in distress. And I find myself as involved in all of those things now as I was 20 years ago in a small country church.
Is that right?
Seems that way to me anyway.
Your wife, Annetta, is here with us this morning. Now, she's also has some background and training. Is she involved in the work in any definite way with you?
Oh, she most certainly is. She's involved in our home department visitation, which we mentioned just a moment ago, and she's part of our choir and our kitchen crew. That's a favorite place for her. She loves the kitchen crew.
Wonderful.
She's part of our junior church program and our women's missionary fellowship. All voluntary, of course. She wants to do that.
Yes, I know.
It's real ministry for her.
Terrific. Now, that kitchen crew, do you do much in the way of serving, and do you have fellowship time?
Oh, yes.
Is that a strong emphasis?
In our own church family, of course.
Yes, sure.
Outside of that. But we have a kitchen crew of ladies who, for many years now, just delight to prepare and to cook and to serve and to clean up. I always compliment our crew chief, Mrs. Doris Corello, and she always says, "Oh, it's fun, Pastor. It's fun, Pastor."
Well, when you got a group working
That's
like
right,
that, it is fun, really.
And I'm just delighted that they serve 300 and 400 people quite regularly and do a wonderful job.
You're a very blessed pastor, and the church is very blessed to have that kind of dedication because it takes that. Especially, you mentioned the cleanup.
Yeah.
I find it's never hard to get inspired and tear the place apart, but then everybody goes for a quick walk.
That's very true.
And who's going to clean up the mess? And it has to be cleaned regularly. Kitchens have a way of just getting messy, and they have to be cleaned and recleaned. Well, that's just part of the housekeeping involved with the church. I'm chatting here with Pastor Ted Harmon. Now, tell us where the church is, and just give people an invitation to visit Claim Street Baptist Church.
Well, we're pretty much downtown. We're on the east side of the city, and as you come into Aurora from the east, from the Fox Valley Shopping Center, you come directly downtown on East New York Street, turn right on State Street, and you bump right into our Youth Ministries building, which is adjacent to our church building. We're just off the main drag, about 2 blocks to the north.
Now, your worship service is at what time?
It is at 10:50 a.m.
10:50.
We begin with 10 minutes of announcements.
Yes.
And then when our worship service begins at 11, we don't interrupt it for any more commercial spots or announcements or things of that nature.
I like that.
And that's been refreshing for us.
I like that very, very much. Well, you can see, friend, here's a well-planned, just a prayed-through ministry. These 5 of the pastoral staff afford leadership, and behind them is a great group of dedicated people, and they're carrying on there for the Lord at the Claim Street Baptist Church. 93 years. My personal memories goes back to maybe the Denler twins came out of the Claim Street Baptist Church. 40 years ago, these were 2 of the finest trumpet players. I'd never heard triple tonguing on trumpets till I heard these fellas play. They were exciting. I judge they were about 14 or 15 when I first knew them. Very attractive and just exciting as young men. And they've gone on. They're in missionary work now, aren't they, Ted?
Yes, they are. I wish I could tell you exactly where they all are, but one of the boys was with Navigators.
Yes, I remember that.
And the other boy, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well,
their parents I know a little bit better.
Do they?
They're there.
The Denler family's still in the church.
Oh, yes, they're still in the church.
Yeah.
Still in the church.
Well, great. Claim Street Baptist. And you, if you are available to our radio on a Sunday morning, be listening in. They're at 10:50 or 11 o'clock. Pardon?
That prophecy conference also, just a
Oh,
reminder.
my land, yes. You
we
know,
are
you
part of that prophecy conference you've been announcing.
that was
throughout the
surprising
day.
to me.
So just want our listeners to know that, should they be in the western suburbs.
Well, now let's talk about that just a second here. That's coming up beginning 16th.
That's
I believe
right,
it
October
is,
the 16th through the 20th in our church.
through the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be having, what, a different man each evening.
Dr. John Phillips in the morning, Dr. John Walford in the evening.
Boy,
Of
that's
Sunday.
quite a 1-2 punch.
That's quite a 1-2 punch
Isn't
on
that
Sunday,
great?
isn't it? And then a fine speaker every evening thereafter.
Yes. And in case you haven't heard, this prophecy conference involves the 5 great churches like Claim Street Baptist Church. And then on the 18th, these men are all coming together for a special day up in Lake Geneva. And some of you could be a part of that if you'd want. You want more information, contact the Public Ministries Department here at Moody Bible Institute, 329-4402. That's 329-4402 for information on the Prophecy Conference. Oh, my. Well, it's great to know how things are moving and what's happening and just God's blessing overall. How we should just, with our whole hearts, serve the Lord.